Okay, you should be good to go.
All righty. So welcome everyone, and I'd like to call the meeting for the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board to order here at 6:01. Let's do first introductions. I'm Cassie McClure, I'm chair for District 1 as well. And then let's do Robert.
Hi, I'm Robert Harrison, District 2.
Megan.
Good evening, Megan Jeweler, District 6.
Stan.
Stan Engel, District 4.
And if staff could introduce themselves, Sonya.
Hazel, go ahead.
HAZEL NEVAREZ, Office Manager Senior and Recording Secretary.
Kathy.
Sorry. Kathy Mathews, Landscape Architect.
Bessie.
Ceci Vasconcelos, Community Engagement Office.
Phil.
Phil Katnack, Recreation Administrator.
Robert.
Robert Nunez, Youth Services Administrator.
Tony.
Tony Trevino, Interim Deputy Director of Public Works.
And I'm Sonya Delgado, Director of Parks and Recreation.
All right, thank you. So next I have conflict of interest. Does anyone on the board or staff have conflict of interest with anything on the agenda?
Wait, I'm sorry, Board Chair. My names were scrolling through and I don't think I got Phil.
Oh no, Phil. Phil. Well.
Phil Katnack, Recreation Administrator. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
Okay. I was on there a second.
All right, great. I think we have everybody.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. I didn't catch it either. All right. So does anyone have conflict of interest with anything on the agenda?
None.
Head shaking. Okay. All right. Let's move to the approval of the agenda. Do I have anybody to motion to approve? There's only a couple of y'all.
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept the agenda. This is Megan Schuler.
Thank you. You're muted. You're muted. Robert, you're muted.
Madam Chair, this is Stan Engel. I second the motion.
He got you. He got faster. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in what? What am I doing? Yes, all in favor. Sorry. It's been a long day.
Aye.
Okay. It has been passed. Oh, we have Eric coming on board. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick? We're already at approval, but.
Hi, Eric Montgomery, District 5 board member.
Okay.
Thanks.
Perfect. All right, so number 4, approval minutes. Does anybody want to motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved. Anyone else? Second, please.
Which minutes are you approving? Because there was 2 sets of minutes.
Oh, there's 2? Oh, yeah, because we have to do the special too. Do you want to do it in any particular order? Which one was the first one? From last month. So July 16th. Do we want specifically?
Okay, I move to accept the minutes from July 16th meeting.
Have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Any discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can I
Sorry,
have a motion?
who seconded? Robert?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on August 4th?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on August 4th, 2020.
Eric Montgomery, second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, great. So now we're at number 5, public participation. And I'm just going to apologize in advance because you're going to be hearing a lot of me right now. I'm going to read quite a bit of email that we got regarding pickleball. More than, well, should I give it away that it is 38 pages? It is 38 pages, but I will attempt to make this as easy as possible. Some of these came in a little late, but we'll let some of it stand because I think it shows the breadth of this, and also a couple that aren't pickleball related. So good luck to me. I have water. This should be interesting. I will endeavor to make this as painless as possible. And hopefully for those who are following along on YouTube, I'm sorry if I butcher names. I will attempt not to do that either. Okay, so we have the first one, Xanthi Phillips. I apologize if I pronounce that wrong. Dear Parks and Rec, I want to start by saying how much I appreciate your hard work during this trying time and always. I'm writing because I'm extremely confused regarding the newest restrictions for tennis and pickleball. We're the only city in the entire state with such harsh restrictions. The old restrictions had half the courts at Lions closed, which had a huge problem because there were more people in courts. The time limits were okay, but the courts opened at 8, so once the heat of the day arrived at 10, no one could play. These new restrictions are ridiculous. 45 minutes to play tennis, there is no point. Do you realize that tennis and pickleball are the safest activities? Courts are fully functioning in Albuquerque, Alamogordo, Silver City. Where are these restrictions coming from? Not the governor. Please, this is a very difficult time for everyone. Do not take the safest sport away. Sincerely, Xanthi Phillips. Robert McCorkle. I understand Parks and Rec Advisory Board will hear from you tomorrow evening about proposed scheduling of pickleball court play at Apodaca Park. As one of the dozen designated pickleball players in Las Cruces, I want to express my displeasure with this new proposed policy that seems to tighten the screws on pickleball community, which currently has only a very limited option of where to play in the city. With the number of coronavirus cases recently stabilizing, in some cases dropping, seems an odd time for your department to tighten scheduling requirements. I would like to know why this is being done. Reading the proposal, it's obvious whoever came up with the proposal knows little to nothing about pickleball. It would have been nice for your department to solicit input for the pickleball community before taking up the scheduling measure with the advisory board. The sport is not like golf, where one reserves a tee time in advance for foursome. With pickleball, players simply show up during open court hours and, quote, get in line, unquote, to play the games as completed, and those players rotate off the court. Different players team up at different times. There's a variety of players. Nobody plans ahead of time who they play with, since there are a dozen or more players show up at any given day. 4 people playing against double rarely play against one another for more than a few games before different players pair up to play against various opponents. Requiring myself and others to schedule specific playing partners at a specific time seems more punishment than a protective measure. It is onerous and ridiculous. And how do you intend to, quote, clean, unquote, the courts for during the 15-minute breaks between games? It's not like a restaurant where one sterilizes tables and chairs. Until courts open up, please allow pickleballers to pursue their sport without increasing restrictions on scheduling so we can continue to get fresh air and exercise. We need to stay healthy and active for members of our community. Thank you, Rob McCorkle. Larry Mastic. While many of us appreciate the opportunity to continue to play pickleball during this pandemic, some of the recently proposed changes to those use guidelines are pretty unreasonable and unworkable. We all understand the need to wear masks and social distance. Pickleball can be played following those guidelines. 1, it would have been much better if City Parks and Rec staff had communicated what the purpose of proposing the changes were first, and then asked the pickleball players for input before proposing those guidelines. 2, making reservations ahead of time seems like a significant hassle and waste of citizens and staff time. Coordination players would be required to do nearly every day to set up groups of 4. Reservation is unreasonable. Different players play different days. There are dozens of players in town. How would this all coordination happen? 3, typically we mix up teams and partners after every game to keep play fair and interesting. How would that work with a reservation system? 4, 45-minute sessions are too short for most of us who typically play 2 hours or so. 5, what cleaning needs to be done? Players have been maintaining sweeping courts since the reopening. City has done nothing in this regard to date. 6, suggest that Parks and Rec staff use the same procedures as were used at merge sites. Set up a player limit, for example, 20. For each session, takes names as they enter courts and cut it off until the next session. For example, 7 to 9 a.m. to 9:15 to 11:15 a.m. Thanks, Larry Mastic. Tom and Maggie Winter, thank you for a chance to comment and ask questions.
Can you slow down just a little bit?
Do you want me to? I can.
Yeah, because it's just going, brrr. I want to hear what they're saying. Thank you. Sorry.
Sure. Thank you for the chance to comment and ask questions. Park improvements. I've not seen a request for public comments on the park improvement portion of the GO bond as there has been for the East Mesa design. Why is that? How can we see specifics on the Apodaca rehab design? Is it finalized? Will there be any shade structures, seating inside and outside in the courts? Has construction started on any park improvements? How much of the GO bond, 16.9 million for park improvements, has been spent in these past 2 years? Court scheduling. Wish you could have gotten some input from players before instituting the new scheduling procedures. Why did scheduling procedures change? Were there problems? If there were player issues, they could have been addressed individually instead of a complete overhaul. We are the most restrictive of all New Mexico cities already. Why is that? Tennis and pickleball are the safest sports. No need to change for facts. In fact, all the courts should be open. Plenty of space between courts. Why can't they be left open all day? What is the purpose of closing courts? 45 minutes for tennis or pickleball session is not feasible. Many of us drive 20 minutes to the park and back. Why bother? No need for 15 minutes between sessions. It's unreasonable to require players to set up groups of 4 for reservations every day. Just the staff time to coordinate all this could be used to keep bathrooms open. Why are bathrooms closed? Not really a place to congregate. Tennis and pickleball both draw from a pool of players who show up. We can keep 6 feet apart, drawing waiting circles on the courts or outside courts. Or perhaps what has been done at Mearshart. Limit the number of players, first come, first served, take names if need be, and have 2 morning sessions and 2 evening sessions. Thank you. I hope we can rethink court usage. Maggie Winter. Carol Shurik, sorry. Questions for meeting. 1, would you please give an explanation for why Albuquerque allows a full 18 courts of 4 people each to play pickleball all day long, as well as give as used to restroom facilities, yet Las Cruces residents are not allowed to play all day long nor use the restroom facilities. Same is true in Ruidoso. Please do not respond as you did before to this question, and that you can explain what other cities do. Either your mandate has a medical explanation or it doesn't. 2, please definitively state the criteria by which all pickleball and tennis courts will be open. We are very frustrated with the moving criteria. 3, why do you institute the new policy that you must collect names of all players? 4, what tax refunds can taxpayers expect for these 6 months that we have not been permitted to freely use park facilities? 5, how many Parks and Rec employees have been furloughed during these past 6 months? Carol Sherrick. Lynn Austin, Parks and Rec Advisory Board. We understand that the Parks and Recreation Department is planning to severely restrict pickleball play at Apodaca Park. Our circa 50 players have enjoyed 8 weeks of play over 65 hours with no reported COVID-19 cases. What is bold reasoning behind this decision? Lynn Austin. Oh gosh, I'm not sure if I know this name. Oh, Jill Rogers. To whom it may concern, I am writing concerning the proposed changes to the play at Apodaca Park. As a member of the pickleball community, I can assure you that the proposed changes will seriously harm the pickleball community. Question, have we been doing something wrong at Apodaca? Told that we were not following guidelines. We may have been given some inaccurate direction from individuals unlocking the gate concerning using all 4 of the permanent nets. But again, we thought we were following all the directives, including playing in masks. I am absolutely in support of social distancing and the importance of masks. These are challenging times, and changes / alternations need to be addressed. Suggestion 1, do away with reservations. If you need to restrict people at Apodaca, then work on a first come, first play system, similar to the previous system at Mearshart. With 4 courts, 16 players, limit each session 1 hour to 18 players. This would allow and encourage social distancing requirement and allow a pickleball game to be enjoyed as intended. Suggestion 2, do not put a limit on the number of sessions a player can participate in daily. Again, similar to the system previously used at Mearshart, after session 1, courts are cleared. New players come in and existing players are allowed to participate if capacity allows. Ideally, I would like things to continue as current. However, we need to make changes. Please allow input from the pickleball community that are trying to remain active and healthy during these difficult times. Again, what are we doing wrong and how can we help you remain active and safe? KM. Thank you for consideration, Jill Rogers. Cindy Correa, I believe. Yes. My comments concern the new guidelines for the pickleball courts that will be in effect August 24th, 2020. I hope the public input wouldn't be thrown aside like it was for the Go Bond projects when comments were solicited for the public. Why are you fixing something that wasn't broke? The gatherings occurred when you had 2 of the 4 courts open. Since you opened the 2 other courts, there are 1 to 3 people waiting to play. In fact, the players don't have much of a breathers with the 4 courts being open. Continuous play. You have no idea how pickleball is played. We don't play for 45 minutes with the same people. One game normally lasts 15 minutes. After that, players move on and play with other players. This gives all players the opportunity to meet new people, enhance their skills, and look forward to new challenges. Where's the money coming from to hire somebody to babysit us at Apodaca Park? Where's the money coming from for someone to man the phones for reservations? The money could be spent better used for all the weeds around the play areas at Apodaca Park. The money would better be spent paying someone to get off their butts after they ride around cutting grass and clean all the clippings on the sidewalks. Have you ever come to expect to work? I think not. Why are Las Cruces rules different than from Albuquerque? I was there a few weekends ago and the courts are open every day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I have to assume that the state rules apply to all cities, right? Sorry, scrolling. Do you really think that pickleball players believe new guidelines or suggestions from player community? Who did you poll? When did this poll take place? How many did you poll? I'd like an answer to these questions. And who suggested this ridiculous schedule? Why is the completion date for an upgrade for Apodaca a year away? This has been talked about for 2 years. How much money has been spent on talking? You have senior citizens who enjoy the game of pickleball and aren't home sitting and watching TV. This schedule confines us to 45 minutes and limits us to 1 session per day. We respected the rules that you placed on us. We wear our masks and have social distance. Can you show me a case of pickleball player that has a virus or had the virus? Your concerns for our safety is heartwarming, but you're dealing with senior citizens who actually know better. Don't punish us. Final comment. I understand that the restrooms need to be closed, but porta potties are a necessity. Dean Peterson. The new rules are BS. There was no reason to change. I played every day, 8 a.m., never had a problem. What really needs to happen is open the court from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., Monday through Sunday. This is a public court, not a private one. The people playing now are at 8 a.m. are pretty much retired and done by 9:30 a.m. We abide by all the rules and with no problems. Keeping the water off in no restrooms is okay. I play with the same bunch and do not even know their names and have been for years. Linda Moya. Unfortunately, these new rules hinder those of us wanting to enjoy outdoor activity while being safe, wearing our masks. Please reconsider these very confining rules. Harry Wiley. Right now, I play tennis at Lions as much as possible. However, the new rules issued that became effective August 21st by the City of Las Cruces Parks and Recreation will cause me and many other great difficulty. I was informed by city personnel that the new rules were issued because there were complaints that courts were not available for play because there were too many players. The simple solution to that is to open courts now closed. There is no sound clinical reason regarding COVID-19 to close half the courts. Repeat, underlined, bolded, and italicized. There is no sound clinical reason because COVID-19 to close half the courts at Lions. Tennis has been and continues to be one of the safest activities possible under COVID-19 restrictions. I would urge you to consider the appropriate activity within City of Las Cruces to open the courts at Lions 24/7 with reasonable guidelines for COVID-19 protection, such as now are in place. Thanks for listening, Harry Wiley. Laura Smart. All right, let me just, give me 30 seconds, hold on. I have a lot of questions, but my first question is who in the world dreamed up these rules for pickleball reservations? Nowhere else in the state is there such an absurd set of regulations to play pickleball at a public park. In Albuquerque, 18 courts and Manzano Mesa and multiple other public locations, there are no reservations required. It's first come, first serve. Same for Ruidoso, except all the players have their own key to access the net and ball box. Plus, these facilities have restrooms available. Some Las Cruces players are already going to El Paso to play at their public courts because they are public and open with restrooms. Obviously, whoever made up these quote rules end quote has never played pickleball or seen pickleball played. A player shows up and plays with 3 other players who get there first. We warm up for 5 minutes and play a game of 2-11, which usually takes 15 to 20 minutes. With your new rule of only 45 minutes to play, this would mean that we get 2 games of pickleball. Players usually play between 2 and 4 hours, rotating in and out of play at least 7 games. Coming to the park to be limited to play only 2 games is ridiculous. When Meerscheidt was open, the play time was 2.5 hours. Did you hire an employee to monitor and be the quote mass police, end quote, as well as the quote cleaning of the court, end quote, maintenance person? Exactly how are they quote going to clean, unquote, the courts between 45-minute games? Will they take Lysol and disinfect the courts? We already provide our own paddles, balls, and water. It's August 19th and you're changing the rules after the governor shut down the state since March 17th. All you're accomplishing at this point is frustration for players with the city, mayor, council, the mayor, and city council. Why are the courts not open on Sunday? A lot of players work during the week and Saturday and Sundays are the only days that they can play. I'm guessing because you would have to pay an employee double time to work on Sunday. What happens when an out-of-town player shows up and they have no reservation, but there's a court available with 3 other players who need a fourth in order to play a doubles match? Will you have your quote monitor and quote call the police when a player isn't wearing a mask during play? When will the rehab for Apodaca pickleball courts begin? How long will the courts be closed down? Where are we supposed to play when the construction begins? Did we have the contractor sign a quote time limit end quote agreement? Could you please provide some quote transparency end quote with the Highland Enterprise and the pickleball players? When will the construction of the East Mesa Sports Complex begin? Will the pickleball players have any say, quote, say, end quote, in the particulars of the chosen design of the quote? Courts. If my demeanor in this email seems to be out of character for me, it's because all the pickleball players are upset and frustrated with how you have handled our beloved sport regulation since March 17th. Please don't recite any quote cliches, end quote, with me about how, quote, all you care about is public safety, end quote. We are adults and we will take responsibility for our own health. Playing pickleball is not only healthy, but joyful. You, however, have taken the quote joy, end quote, and removed it from our healthy regime. Okay. This is from Linda McCamley. I've been playing at Lions Court for almost 30 years, drop-in tennis in the morning. We play with whoever shows up, and when we need to leave, we do. Some stay for a couple hours, some of the older people only an hour. When the City Parks and Rec initiated the new COVID regulations and closed half the courts, it became a problem, 12 courts to 6, but we made it work. Everyone shared courts and it's become doable. By the way, Albuquerque and Alamogordo have not closed their courts. We have come under the same state regulations, so I'm not sure how this is happening. Why are we being so unfairly restricted? I'm the one who takes this disease extremely seriously and have thought the governor has done an excellent job in trying to keep us safe, but this seems to be excessive. Last night, we get an email stating the entire policy is changing. We'll need reservations to play, exact people and IDs will be checked. First of all, we don't even know last names. We've come and play. This is a very informal network and it works. Has worked for many years. Then the courts will be restricted to 45 minutes. Billy, that's not even worth driving to the courts. What is this policy going to do to have seniors not play tennis? It's not worth it. We have 70 and 80-year-olds who come in faithfully to play with friends for the amount of time they can handle and quit. During COVID, one would think that for health reasons, you would want to have seniors out and playing to stay healthy. Tennis is one of the safest sports to play during this pandemic. If Parks and Rec is trying to clear the courts at Lions, it surely will do it. I find it hard to believe that anyone responsible for these new policies even plays tennis or has talked to any of the players involved. These new changes are worse than leaving it as is. Anyway, let's go. Candy Giumo. Sorry. I truly appreciate the city's active role in trying to keep us safe from COVID, but these new guidelines are doing more harm than good. First and foremost, 45 minutes to play tennis is not an acceptable time frame. There are 3 sets in a tennis match. A set takes a half hour more or less, plus there's the need to warm up prior to play. There are changeover after each odd game counts, 90 seconds, collecting balls after each point, etc. So for people to come across town to play 45 minutes is ridiculous. The real solution here is to open all courts Monday through Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. This will be plenty of time for all to play with continued masks, the ball usage and distancing. I've played at Lions since 1997. I know most of the players and the usage of the courts. My suggestions will cover everyone who wants to play at Lions and COVID safe. Carol Shannon. I'm writing because of my concerns with the changes taking place. Playing tennis, not hitting some balls at Lions courts. Since the courts have reopened, I have played every Tuesday and Thursday morning and Wednesday evening, weather permitting. Here's what I have observed. 1, it is a first come, first play, so everyone who wants to play starts arriving at 7:38 to get in line for when the courts are unlocked. Yes, it is hard to maintain social distance when everyone is trying to go through one door in order to get a court. We have helped to resolve that by determining who the first 6 groups are and what courts they want to take. Then we can take our time getting to our quote assigned end quote court. It has worked well. Those folks arriving late did not get a court, and usually a court did not free up for at least an hour and a half. 45-minute limit. At the beginning, Las Cruces folks were coming to the courts every hour, and I wondered how they were going to enforce the 45-minute rule. Who were they going to kick off if there was someone waiting to hit/play? That got answered pretty quickly. Nothing happened. No one has to leave. You can hit a ball and around in 45 minutes. You cannot play tennis games sets in 45 minutes. 3. I was under the impression that only 4 people max were allowed on a court, which would rule server out tennis that has been played every morning for years by many of our senior players, since there would be 2 or 3 extra folks on the court. I personally think that style increases the risk of spread of COVID-19, which is why I only play doubles, 4 players on a court. When the Las Cruces folks came to the courts every hour to check, they never made the extra players on server out courts leave. The new rules, some of which are good, implies that you will be having an employee at the courts the entire time. They are open to check in and enforce the rules. That doesn't seem realistic for city courts. Here are the things that I think are problematic. 1. Enforcing rules cannot be enforced unless someone is there the entire enforcing the rules, not just watching. 2. Reserving courts. I played in Montana for 20 plus years. We had to call in and reserve indoor courts. It was a nightmare trying to call in and to get through to the person taking reservations. 3. Limiting time on court to 45 minutes. By the time you get to the court, get your racket and your balls and warm up for 5 minutes, minimum recommended time to avoid injuries, you've lost close to 10 minutes, to at least 35 minutes. Most sets take 35 to 45 minutes to play, not much tennis. 4. In all of the new unquote rules, you have never even mentioned the mask mandate when you're out in public, even when you're exercising. It seems very odd that you tried to micromanage the other details and ignore state mandate. Do I think everyone should have to wear a mask while playing tennis? No. Tennis has always been considered one of the safe activities, but I choose my small circle of friends to play tennis with, and I always wear a mask to play. My group only touches their own balls in warm-up and during serving. We put our bags in separate corners on the court to minimize socializing at bench when we switch sides. We take the situation very seriously, but we still want to play tennis. 5. Timing. The public health order is in place through August 28th. I think it is silly to be making all these changes for August 24th prior to seeing what happens in what is in place after August 28th. All right. Next one is Frank Carriel. Watching public input being destroyed last month by city employees misrepresenting the facts that were presented to the board, mayor, city manager, then nothing done to correct the situation. Like it's okay sends a clear message. Public no longer can look to city for a fair shake. Making public input just a joke they must go through, but means nothing. Council meeting 17 Aug 2020 awarded the same design contractor, quote, no bid contract, end quote, to value of $5.2 million by, quote, consent, end quote, of, quote, accepting the agenda, end quote, without one city council member asking one question, nor the bid process for voters. Maybe a better deal, giving other contractors a chance, having a statement of detailed work, SOW, really written, with deliverables and time schedules for the citizens of Las Cruces. It's now been 2 years since the bond issue. Not one spade of dirt has been turned for people. City should be ashamed. Council should be ashamed. Yet we can make our new city manager the highest paid in the state. Right in his contract, he must take 2-week executive leave without being charged for leave. Guess that's for stress. How about all the stress of taxpayers of the bonds who have nothing at East Mesa or Parks or the new dog park, and we have paid over $700,000 to contractors already. One bill says brief city council 7,000. Is it stress for people? Just keep on giving to the people. You think you're not watching like the council, but we are. From Frank Carriel, now I have to make reservations, play pickleball 15 minutes for 45 minutes, make about as much sense as everything I said above you're doing. You really don't want public input or comment. You're out of control. Below the 7,000. Bill to brief the city council by you go bond contractor. You can wordsmith it, but gives us stress. Ooh, okay. Deanna, I'm gonna say Deanna. The bulletin states we must have the names of all players for the courts when making a reservation. I'm just one person. Can one person make a reservation for his or herself? Where does that have to be a total of 4 names when making a reservation? Mark and Sarah McDowell. I have many concerns about the upcoming rule changes for pickleball. I only ask that you come out and see how we have doing and how things have been working. Yes, there are people waiting to play, but we quote distance and quote ourselves. We rotate in and out with everyone getting a chance to play and play multiple people throughout the time we are there. It's been working fairly decent. I see no reason to change things. Like I said, there are multiple issues I have with these proposed changes, and I only ask that you come out and see how we've been quote policing unquote ourselves. Thanks. J. Mark Cobb. I wish to say that nearly half of the folks using the courts simply show up to see who's well enough to play or doesn't have a professional appointment to make as many are either seniors or professionals trying to fit in time between meetings. It would be extremely difficult to implement a system similar to the one at Friendship Pool, in which I participate. When you have 4 individuals who must coordinate a 45-minute time slot, it's a lot harder than single participants at Friendship. I'm used to the Friendship system now and it's working, but if you try to do it at Lions, that's a different ballgame, so to speak. But why try to make a major change now when the state's COVID numbers are so good and we're probably weeks away from the next phase? Let's keep the traditional walk-up system in play as it's been for 15 years. It was a major factor of what drove my decision to move here 15 years ago. Let's make it easy for those desiring a complete education, including PE, which was excluded by educational institutes decades ago. We really can do our part to combat obesity and type 2 diabetes for those excluded from physical exercise in our educational institutions decades ago. J. Mark C., a free thinker from the land of enchantment, taking the road less traveled. And Carol Sherrick. Sorry, Carol. Please note that of today, New Mexico officially meets the governor's own gaining criteria to open. She links to a KOAT article. And this again, I'm not going to read the article, but it is included. You can find that one. Sheila Unglaub. I would suggest we open all 12 courts, then there would be no need for reservations and time restrictions on courts. Lori Martin. To whom it may concern, I was informed earlier today that hours and times we can now play tennis are limited to the phone. Let's copy and paste that in an email. We were told that people have been called in to the city making complaint suggestions. All of these suggestions and complaints must be from people that do not play tennis. This does not begin to make sense whatsoever. These are city courts and it is an outdoor activity, one of the few, capitalized, one of the few, very few safe things to do during the virus. Radel Bunker-Farrell, apologies. Thank you for opening the courts on Monday to Saturday. Thank you for opening the courts earlier, starting at 7 a.m. I believe it is very unrealistic to think that tennis can be played in 45-minute increments. Most people I know play for a couple hours. We have to make reservations. Please allow for 2 consecutive sessions a day to be played in the same group. Please add a session 4 in the morning, 10 to 10:45 a.m. Sometimes we form a group of 4 and something comes up. For example, grandkids need a sitter, plumbing issues, etc. We have to find a substitute in order to play doubles. Can the original 3 players plus a substitute still use the reservation that was made originally, or will no one be able to play? Exercise is one of the ways we can keep a positive attitude during this time, relieve stress, and increase our immune system. Please don't make it hard for us to exercise. Pat Martinez. The next one is Pat Martinez, sorry. Okay, Parks and Rec Advisory Board member. The changes to the policy make reservations include the names of players 24 hours before only 1 to 3 p.m. is extremely restrictive. Suggestions to address complaints also make COVID guidelines. Open all courts at Lions Park. This would reduce the number of players per court and still allow for the social distance of 6 feet. Open the courts at Young Park and Friendship Park. Increase the playing time to at least 1.5 hours. Most players would be more receptive to getting off the courts. Good idea to start at 7 p.m. If you have to make reservations, there needs to be a way to allow for substitutions, since that is a possibility that does occur. Use of masks while playing, how healthy is that? Do you have someone from the Las Cruces Players Association on this board? Thank you for your attention to this matter. And this is not this one, you guys can perk up too. This is not a pickleball one. This is another one. So just giving that as a heads up. This is from Ryan Armendariz. Sorry, Ryan. Hello all. I would first like to thank the board and all the staff of the Parks and Recreation Department for the City of Las Cruces. The board's guidance and the diligent work by staff has brought the city beautiful and functional parks and programs. With all that being said, I believe we can still improve our service to the community. Safety and customer service are at the core of what Parks and Recreation does. So why not create a volunteer position that provides these two things precisely? A park service aide could be a position that fills many roles, such as safety liaison, security officer, community educator, and at the core of the position, a customer service provider. If this is something that the board would consider, I would love to expand more on the idea. Another topic I would like the board to consider is extending park hours to before dawn and after dusk. Sorry. Many people on our city shift work may not be able to enjoy our beautiful parks during the current open hours. I believe that this would also give more opportunities to those who may not be able to withstand the heat of our summers. This would mean adding more lighting to existing parks over time, but new parks, such as the 2 new dog parks, could have this cost incorporated into the initial design. Thank you all once again for the wonderful work you do, and I look forward to the board's response. Quickly check here. Okay. Clayton Henry. This goes back to the pickleball, and it says, I agree with everything Frank and Laura have written. I think there will be very few players that will be able to justify playing under the new rules. I am already driving to El Paso about 3 times a week, and occasionally to Ruidoso, where you can play as long as you want. Anyone wishing to carpool to 5 set net tomorrow, meet at McDonald's at University at 8:30. Can play at 8 and 1 o'clock. Dean Peterson. They are in no way trying to help. Albuquerque, Alamo, and NMCU all have regs that are helping tennis players. Call in every day to play. Public court is BS. Open all the courts, first come, first serve. Call the governor and get the regs changed. Not hard to do. Right. And CC Hunter. Well written, Laura, but unfortunately the mayor is not listening to his citizens and is determined to keep these ridiculous rules. My question to the mayor is, why are we blocking our players from being out in the beautiful outdoors, enjoying and participating in a physical activity that boosts our immune system as well as contributes to overall mental health? Please reconsider and listen to your citizens you serve. And I think there was, wait, hold on. I believe that was it, right? Yes, I believe that was the last of it. All righty. So number 6, action items, right?
Just as a quick comment, just that if any of the board members want to make, put any of the comments or anything that was just said on a future agenda, they can put that on a future agenda. And then I think on tonight's agenda, I believe Ms. Delgado also has some COVID updates that she might be able to comment on some of those as well, and same with other staff members as we move forward through this.
All right, yeah, does anybody want to, we'll leave it up to the board.
Cassie, did you get that very last one that I sent in a separate email?
I don't think so.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
It was from Mark and Sarah McDowell. I have many concerns about the upcoming rules changes for pickleball. I only ask that you come out and see how we have doing and how things have been working. Yes, there are people waiting to play, but we distance ourselves. We rotate in and out with everyone getting a chance to play and play with multiple people throughout the time we are there. It's been working fairly decent and I see no reason to change things. Like I said, there are multiple issues I have with these proposed changes, and I only ask that you come out and see how we have been policing ourselves. Thanks, Mark McDowell.
Eric, Stan, Megan. Any comments, questions? Given it a second.
No, Cassie, I just want to reiterate, great job on reading through those. Know that was a lengthy process, and so I really appreciate you going through that. And kind of to reiterate, Robert, my question was just to make sure that we followed the correct protocol, as the comments that were made seem to have a short timeline before being placed on our agenda for next month.
Eric, Stan, anything? If not, then I will head into action items.
Yeah, Madam Chair. So unless Ms. Delgado can cover a lot of the answers to a general theme from the public input, it does. I do agree with Ms. Schuler that waiting another month might be too long to address all of it.
Madam Chair, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director, and other board members. What I could do is, I don't want to accidentally not answer one of those questions that were in all of those emails. So what I will do is I can take all those emails, go through each and every single one, answer each question and send them back to the board. And then I can also send a reply and copy the board when I send it back to the individual that sent that email. I will need a couple of days to get that done, but I will get that done. I should be able to get it done within 48 hours after this meeting, if that's acceptable to the board.
Would we be able to, I mean, I feel like there are a couple of questions asked over again. Is there a way to just do a FAQ for you that kind of hits all of those? Would that make it easier?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, I can answer some of those questions here when we go over our COVID. And I just want to make something clear. I know that it was said that you were going to be taking action on some rules. That is not the case. The update that's on your agenda for COVID was just to give you an update of where we are staff-wise, what kinds of things we have done innovatively to change some programming, what have we been able to do, where we were with regards to the orders, how we got there. So we can answer some of those questions, not a problem, but I want to make sure that I don't miss any of those questions, because I don't want someone to think that, you know, we purposely eluded that question and didn't want to give an answer. So we can certainly answer a lot of them probably tonight, but I will go through and make sure that we answer every single one, and I will make sure the board is aware and that each and every person receives a reply from me.
That sound good to everybody?
Yeah, that sounds good. And I'll hold my questions or comments till after the update. Because some of the state orders that I could see, it would be violating, but in the aspect of playing, yeah, play, health, be out. All these orders are aggravating, and yes, we abide by them, and yes, we're trying to get through this, and it's all a new thing, but I'll hold my questions and comments until we hear the updates.
Okay. Alrighty. Without any further ado, which I like to do, it's okay. Let's do number 6, action items. And we don't have any action items this time, right? As I understand it. Yes.
Correct.
So we're going straight to discussion, number 7. And let's go 7.1, Go Bond project updates with Tony.
Madam Chair, this is Tony Trevino, the Interim Deputy Director of Public Works. I'm going to share a screenshot here. Okay, can you all see that? I'm going to take that as a yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, I see it.
Okay, so what I wanted to go through today is just kind of give you an updated program schedule. This is our latest one from August 12th. This has all of our GeoBond projects, all $35.6 million of projects, which is the dog parks, the trails, sports courts rehabilitation, the Hadley Complex, UNIVAD, East Mesa Rec Complex, Fire Station, Animal Service Center. I'm going to skip the first two projects A and B, as those are the Animal Service Center, and jump into the East Mesa Public Rec Complex. As you can see here, as you go to the right, the light blue was our anticipated planning and scoping, and the purples are design. What's below it is what it actually took, and we're actually at in the lighter shades of purple and blue, of purple. We're in the third quarter of 2020. We did take about an extra 2-3 months to do some master planning for the entire project of that East Mesa Sports Complex. What we wanted to do is, we didn't want to go out there and just build half a complex without planning the entire future build out with additional soccer fields, a baseball complex, additional pickleball courts, and so forth. So we took the time to make sure we planned it out accordingly to allow for future expansion. Right now, we're currently in the design phase. As you can see here, we plan on having the design out and bidding by the first quarter of 2021, which is about February of 2021, be out to bid. This allowing a few weeks for our procurement process and into construction, taking us into the third quarter of 2022. This has a little bit of fluff built into it for some unforeseen circumstances. Once we get a contractor on board, this schedule will be defined more, as this is just our preliminary schedule and our hard deadlines for the consultants and the contractors that we have to meet. Of course, when we get into contracts, we'll try and negotiate and shorten this up. Below project D is the UNIVAD Park. You can see here the planning and scoping and the actual, we're right on target for there. We're in the design process. However, right now, we're probably about 75 to 80% done with design. We were going with a flow through system. However, we're going to go back and check for some water conservation issues of installing a recirculating pump into the splash pad. And what this is going to require is additional showers and bathrooms to be built near the facility. So we are going to reconvene with the architect, the consultant, and get this handled and taken care of and figure out the budget for this splash pad. The park structure, the playground structure, you saw it in a previous meeting. It's all designed, laid out, and the only kind of thing we're working on now is the splash pad. As you can see here, the bidding, we're planning for the end of this year. By November, it might get pushed out about a month so we can take care of the outstanding recirc situation. However, the construction of the UNIVAD Park, we're looking at about the third quarter of 2021, so the end of next summer. The East Mesa Hadley Avenue Rec Complex, we just went to council last week, or was it? No, it was Monday. Sorry, apologize. This is a design build contract as well as the park and sports courts rehabilitation, Project F. With the design build, the first part of the contract is up to 60% design, where we plan, scope, and value engineer the project to see where we're at. And then we negotiate a guaranteed maximum price. But this is kind of for all the projects, for all the 11 parks within the parks and sports courts, all the complexes in the Hadley, the Paz, Mag, Hardy, and Rangaya. We had to go back, but we had to take in all the designs, we took in the public comment, and we agreed on a price with the contractor. Yes, this, you can see the planning and scoping of this took about a year, and now we're actually design. However, there was a lot of input we had to get for this, a lot of different intricacies we had to get involved with this. However, we're on the page, and you can see we're actually ahead of schedule. Our anticipated timeline to go into construction was going to be the third quarter of 2020, and we're going to be a few weeks ahead of that, as well as the parks and sports courts. Right now, we're in the process of getting that contract executed for that amended for the final design and construction portion of both of those projects. The recreational trails, we did have an EBID meeting a couple of weeks ago. We did get the permit for the Mesilla Drain Trail, which goes from the Outfall Channel south to Burn Lake. It's going to go past Burn Lake, under the underpass, and stop at Lakeside Drive at this point. We are working with EBID for other permits along the other drains. However, with the complexities of the 11 or 13 miles of trails, we wanted to be able to get construction started ahead of time. So we're just doing a trail at a time for the permitting, so we can get the contractor out there building the trail as soon as possible. Again, those plans are 60%, and hopefully we'll be under construction with the first part of those trails by November or so. In the dog parks, you can see here in the bottom, that is a dog park for behind the Animal Service Center and the dog park at Burn Lake. We are working hard to try and include both of those dog parks within the Animal Service Center project, as they're kind of aligned together. Those plans for the Animal Service Center are 90%, and so are those projects also. And as you can see here, the anticipated construction for those is beginning of 2021 and ending the summer of 2021. At this point, I will stand for any questions regarding any of the park geobond projects.
Does anyone have any questions from the board? Should I take that as no? I think we're good then, right? Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it. I think that gives some of the questions that were asked in public input seemed like this might give them some idea of what the process is behind this a little bit more too.
Okay. And then we are also scheduled for a work session in September to go over all the geobond projects with the City Council for kind of a more in-depth presentation of what we gave you today. So, thanks.
Robert, I see you.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. That was good. I was just kind of thinking back through some of the questions, and kind of also my own wondering on kind of where the money's been through the Go Bond. Something in this aspect, is there anything that's available for public in the aspect to say, here's what's being spent on which projects, or where we are, kind of how this lays out on planning, scoping, design, and construction? Is there anything now that some of the bidding's been done on where we are on construction costs that's available for general public?
Yes, and I'm going to take this for the parks and sports courts. The scope is what we had provided to you all in the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting a few weeks ago. The scope has not changed. Pricing, yes, that can be available when requested. What that is, those are more of a maintenance project, kind of more of a scope regarding the resurfacing. There's not really much of a design drawing you can do for a lot of these grinding, sealing of the cracks. So not much of a design, more of a written scope of all the efforts that are going to happen on all these courts. We have all that written down, and that's part of the contract that went to City Council. The entire scope is written down by park of every item that's going to be done at each one of those courts, as well as the price. All that is available.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else for this specifically? Okay, I'm gonna take that as a no.
Madam Chair, Ceci has her hand up.
Oh, I don't see that. Where is that?
Hi there, this is, hi, Madam Chair and Board. This is Ceci Vasconcelos with the Community Engagement Office. I just wanted to mention that there is a Go Bond project web page that the public can access. and get the latest up-to-date information there as well. And that is that they can just go to the lost-cruises.org site and look for Go Bond projects, and it'll take them right to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a way that you could copy and paste that into the YouTube chat, or at least the link to it? Awesome.
I don't know. I can try.
Okay, that would be awesome. All right. Is anybody else got their hand up? Now I'm going to scroll through and I see if I see that. I don't. Leslie, going once, going twice. All right. Next, I'm going to go to 7.2, Parks and Rec COVID update with Sonya. Oh.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. I'm going to give you a little bit of background first, and then I'm going to have each one of our team members that are here with us talk about their areas and kind of some of the things that they've done to be able to get some programs out there, some things they've done virtually, and what we're looking for in the future, hopefully. So just to get started, our budget has stayed whole. We don't have anyone who's been on furlough. In the beginning of this pandemic, when it started, March 20th for us is when we got sent home. We were not considered essential. We were told we were not essential. So, and about less than 2 weeks later, we were told to come back in because they needed our assistance to take care of some things because people were out and about on the trails and the parks and calling in about different things here and there. And so we started coming back online. The first group to start to come back online was our parks team. Currently, and then we slowly started bringing everybody else back online. We will be at approximately 32 hours per person by the end of the month, this month, and we're trying to get to full time by middle of next month. And that we also have to take in consideration all the spacing requirements you're going to need at the offices in our buildings. And we're going to have some staggered schedules. We're going to have, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently when it comes to the office. Each office has already been equipped with spacers on the floor to tell you where your distance is. We do check in with a thermometer. We do go over all the questions, ask about our health before we walk into the facility. We wear masks at all times. The only time we'll take it off is if you're in your office alone. And there's nobody around you, but as soon as someone starts coming close, we put our mask on immediately. We do not have meetings in person. We're doing them all virtually, even with our teams. If we do get together in groups, it's less than 5 so that we are not in violation of the public health order. And like I said, we don't have anyone who's on furlough, thank goodness, and and our budget has stayed at whole. And actually, the city of Las Cruces has not furloughed anyone. We do have some individuals that they're not quite at 40 hours yet if they're full-time, but we're slowly starting to get them back there. And if if they can't do their specific program, we are making sure we have other things to do, which we do. We have lots going on in Parks and Rec. We're just trying to do things a little bit differently. I'd also like to touch on, before I start handing this over, is our park and program situation. So I get a lot of questions, and you received a lot of questions about, what about Albuquerque? Why does Alamogordo, Ruidoso, El Paso, and the list goes on and on. I cannot speak for them. All I can tell you is what I was asked to do by council and the mayor. And when this first started, we went forward. When the governor, we closed, everything got shut down. We started to put together a plan to see if we could get some things opened, and she was willing to listen to those. I was asked by our council and the mayor to send a plan to the state epidemiologist so that they could review it and see if it fell within those orders, and that they were good with that. We did get that plan approved. That is the plan that we are utilizing right now. So I don't know what Albuquerque did. I don't know what Alamogordo did, and I don't know what Ruidoso did, and I don't know if they asked them to do the same thing. I cannot answer that question. I do not work for them. And I know that in some agencies, they've asked, they were asking us, how did we put our plan together? And that's exactly what I've told them. I've shared it with other cities. We've talked about it. They've utilized some of the things that we've implemented. So that's been a good thing. And I know it's frustrating We feel that every single day. And we want to get back to our normal also. And I know it's going to be a new normal, but we're trying to bring back the programs as much as we can. And you're going to hear that from all the different supervisors, administrators that I have here tonight to talk about that and talk about their areas. So I do commend each and every one of them, because this has not been easy, not at all. We have individuals that are pulling us from every single direction you can possibly think of. And it has been trying, but everybody's been hanging in there. And so we just ask the community to hang in there with us, and we will continue to do our best. One of the biggest issues that has been happening is, and I think it's because people are getting comfortable, people are getting, they're not staying on top of everything anymore. And we're starting to get groups together. And so that's been one of the issues we've been having. And we have to make sure that that doesn't happen. And in the beginning, when we started opening our courts, I'll back up a little bit. When we started opening up the courts, for example, we didn't have staff there every single day and every single hour, the entire time, because all our staff weren't back. They didn't have all the hours yet. So we had to spread people around to help us with other areas, because part of that plan opened up a few specialty courts that we had to go through to open and close. And when that started to happen, that became an issue. And so we didn't have enough people. So we're hoping that with this plan and moving forward, it'll make things a little bit easier. So I hope that we can always revisit it. I'll be more than happy to do that. And once the governor relaxes some of those orders, we can certainly start looking at, what else can we add and what else can we open, because I know that's extremely important. So I am hoping that the next press conference will be a little bit better than what it has been these last few times. So I just wanted to say that before I pass that along. And I just want to say thank you to the team. They've done an outstanding job of trying to navigate through this. So I'll start with Phil. I know he's been having some issues with his internet, but I think he's good now. So if he drops off or something, we'll get him back on as quickly as possible. But I'll turn it over to Phil, and he can talk to you about what the recreation section's been up to. Go ahead, Phil.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening. The recreation section programs and facilities closed up at the end of business on March 13th. And with the exception of the Regional Aquatic Center, which closed at the end of business of March 14th. Our pool maintenance workers continue to work from that point to the present, because the pool still needed to be serviced. When all staff have been put on EOL, the managers continue to come in and work on hiring, purchasing, receiving, and all the duties needed. Daily office activity has increased monthly as we've been going forward. Right now, the recreation staff is working 32 hours a week. And at the beginning of September, as Sonya said, we should be up to 40 hours. On the individual programming, the City Wellness Program remained active from closing and continues now by providing fitness challenges through MoveSpring, which is an app that can be done and tracked through the computer and on portable devices like Fitbit and etc. During this time, staff has distributed food for senior programs beginning in April 2nd through May the 22nd. 4 sites daily for mass distributions, and then on Fridays they were getting the big boxes from the state. And as of today, it continues. And right now, we are also helping 3 different senior sites with the drive up meal pickups. So we're over at Frank O'Brien Papin, East Side, and Benavides daily, helping senior programs deliver meals to the seniors. May 26th, as Sonya stated, the specialty courts opened up, and our staff has been monitoring and tracking and opening the facilities for pickleball, tennis. We were doing the RC airport, the RC track for RC cars, the shooting range, and staff has continuously been doing that. And we're getting ready to step up the program that you heard a lot about at the start of the meeting on the 24th. On June 11th, we began virtual music in the park. We had to do something different when the COVID-19 hit. Musical acts and were one of the first to get hit and all their gigs canceled. We made it a priority to find a way to keep our music going. There is one of our biggest programs for the summer. We do usually 17 concerts in the summer. This year we were able, beginning June 11th, to record band-only concerts. And we recorded 14 concerts, and we've posted them on the city's YouTube page, Vimeo, and our webpage. And you can get the link from Facebook. I hope you guys have had a chance to check it out. It's had a great reception so far. June 15th, the Regional Aquatic Center and Friendshire Pool opened up for lap swim only, as did the Regional Aquatic Center upstairs at a 25% capacity level. And in June, and continuing today, rec staff has recorded and posted virtual videos for hiking, biking, sports skills, art galleries, and those are posted on the city Vimeo page as well as our Facebook. One of the big things we took on this year was the virtual 4th of July parade and the fireworks show. The fireworks show is a little tricky as we tried to keep social distance for our community, but still have a great display for the community. And we were able to shoot off a firework display from the dam over there by Q Time at the Mesilla Dam. It was a great success, and I think the community really liked that we still move forward with the 4th of July even during these pandemic times. A couple of other things that we're doing is we're following all at our facilities and programs. We're following all the state and CDC guidelines in several areas. Staff has worked to put plexiglass guards. We've procured the necessary PPE. We're working through the proper distancing requirements, shower protocols, cleaning and sanitation schedules, and we have rules posted for patrons and staff for their needed safety. So every time that someone goes into that pool and they take a shower, we have to go in there and sanitize the showers. So our guys have been constantly busy and working nonstop. Very proud of them, but that's what we are doing for COVID, to take care of business. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Robert Nunez.
Good evening, board. Robert Nunez. So in youth services, we had a wonderful summer program for 18 days that ended on August 7th. We were able to have 65 kids in our program, following all guidelines. We utilized all city facilities. Just did a tremendous job this summer. As we're moving forward, we're in discussions with early childhood and care development through the state's office, because as we transition into a school year, what happens is we're exempt during the summertime for our summer programs, but when we want to do things during the day, we're classified as childcare during the school year. So we're actually have a meeting with them tomorrow to discuss how we can receive some temporary approvals and what we need to put in place so that we can continue programming. And really in programming, we're talking about mentoring, tutoring, and offering some of our youth and their families an opportunity to get assistance with technology. Some of our facilities have Wi-Fi so that they could utilize the Wi-Fi. So we'll be looking into that, and we hope to start that by Labor Day, right after Labor Day, and be able to offer that within some of our facilities. Overall, staff has been very positive. We had some great trainings. They continue to do trainings as we get prepared. They're thinking outside the box. They're really looking forward to, they want to have that face-to-face, of course, following all guidelines with mask and distancing, but you see these kids and you see the families, and I can share some letters with you in regards to the kids and the parents. So thankful for staff providing these programs, keeping everybody safe, and doing what we needed to do for our community. In our juvenile citation program, we recently were approved for FY21, $308,799. So we'll continue, of course, the program this year. Currently, we're doing 100% virtual intakes, assessments, classes, follow-ups, and it's going well. We're working very closely with JPO. We have a meeting on Monday with Las Cruces Public Schools and next week with Gadsden Independent School Districts on how we can help them when they identify some youth that are maybe not being as focused within this remote learning, and seeing if we can do anything to assist them. Keep Las Cruces beautiful. We are currently providing supplies. We're recruiting groups of 5 if they can go out. We can provide the bags, the gloves, and the litter grabbers. And we have had groups come forward. That program is also grant funded, and we were just notified that we've been approved. I know it's 41,000. Mr. Woods was here last month, the month before, and that'll be going to council in September. So as we don't have youth with us right now, but we're really preparing our staff, collecting their schedules as well, because we're looking to do things in the morning, in the afternoons. And so we need staff to be very flexible. So we're looking at their college schedules, as of course they just recently went back to school. But we are going to make things work, and we will provide some type of service to our community and the youth and the families here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Kathy?
Good afternoon, or good evening, members of the board. I wanted to report on for Franco Granillo regarding the parks COVID status and processes. Franco notes parks staff came back on a limited basis 2 weeks after the initial shutdown. Only maintenance staff for 4 hours on Mondays and Fridays for litter and general cleanliness issues. As Sonia mentioned, parks was originally considered non-essential, and so staff was brought back gradually, starting with those 4 hours on Mondays and Fridays initially. Also, one construction worker was tasked with checking the playgrounds to make sure that they remained closed at that time, and that check occurred 2 times per week to make sure that those playgrounds were cordoned off. These conditions lasted until about mid-April, when staff then was increased to 16 hours per week and then 24 hours per week in May. Also, parks brought on operators for modified mowing schedule as the Bermuda grass started growing as the spring temperatures warmed up, and also irrigators to make sure that the turf was maintained properly. Median staff also came back with their normal duties, and at that time in April and May, we were allowed to bring back 10 of the 23 temporary employees. Then in early August, of course, the hours were increased to 32 hours per week, and that's where we stand right now with staff working 32 hours per week, all staff that is. Everybody comes in on 10-minute staggered shifts to make sure that we can maintain proper distancing in the mornings, rather than everybody crowding into the warehouse as they get ready to start their days. And I just want to note for parks, we anticipate by mid-September that we'll be back to 40 hours per week. Of course, that is dependent on the governor's orders and how that works for us. I also wanted to mention then with regard to the design and construction staff. So there's myself, the landscape architect, and 2 project specialists working on design and construction projects. In March, of course, we transitioned to working remotely. We were not classified as essential, but we were able to cobble together the technology resources to work remotely. And so all 3 of us continued to work full time, just remotely from home. Also, we continue to observe and inspect construction projects, meet with contractors on site, of course, wearing masks and observing social distancing out on site, but that allowed us to keep all our construction projects and all our planning and design moving forward. In April, we continued to work remotely and also transitioned to the three of us coming into the office twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday mornings to accomplish tasks that could only be accomplished in the office, copying, scanning, meeting together to discuss our project updates and the like, and to upgrade our technology as well. Of course, we observed limited numbers in those meetings, proper distancing and wearing masks as well. Then May through July, we of course continued that. As things changed, our schedules did not change because it was working for us. We managed to be, I have to say, my team managed to be extremely productive during this time. But I did want to note also that in July, the Youth Conservation Corps program got started. And so we brought on 7 Youth Conservation Corps crew members and gave them some training in how to work using the social distancing requirements and the masking requirements and the like. And they adapted very well to these strange times. Made and observed those practices during their training and also while they're out there working, doing the audits of the irrigation system. And then of course now we're in August, and so we've added to all our practices the temperature checks every morning. So anybody who comes into the office on our team does the temperature checks, notes the questions to make sure that we're following the proper COVID procedures. So with that, I just want to reiterate, we are continuing to work and provide our services for our residents because we need them more than ever. We need parks and open space and places to recreate, and so that as we transition into better times, those spaces will be available to us and all our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Ceci?
Am I on the air? I don't see myself. Oh, there I am. Okay, good. So from day one, we've been working with Parks and Rec to provide information to the public. As changes were coming about, we were using press releases, we were posting information on social media, and we were using direct email when appropriate through resources like the e-track system and our own, excuse me, our own databases. So it's a constant effort to keep the information out there because it's changing so quickly. And we were trying really hard to provide updates as they happened. It seemed like sometimes we'd be in the middle of writing a press release and already we had to change the information. So it's just been that fluid. We also created a web page where the community can go and see the latest updates and get information about the open facilities and read the guidelines and how to use them. Also the currently closed facilities and programs and services. And that website is los-cruces.org/COVID-19 park schedule. And that should be on the YouTube site, hopefully. And then there's the other piece. It was an effort to keep the community engaged. We knew they were staying at home. They weren't able to go out. They weren't able to be as active as they were used to being. And they couldn't use, the gyms or pools or all the facilities that they were used to using. So we worked to get activities on social media that or do like short videos, and we came up with PSAs that gave them suggestions on games to play and activities to do. So that's been an ongoing effort. We also shared videos that were provided to us by organizations like the National Fitness Campaign to encourage people to stay active, and that was done on social media. We participated in other events such as Earth Day, which happened in April. It was a month-long event, and we KLCB, I worked with Keep Las Cruces Beautiful to give them information that gave what's like how to do safe cleanups during this time and how to get rid of debris that might be contaminated, tips like that we came up with. I also worked with, our department worked with recreation staff to put together a virtual electric light parade that we asked the public to submit photos of how they decorated their yards for the 4th of July. And it was a contest, and we judged them and gave prizes out to the public that participated. So it was just all an effort to keep the engagement going and provide some sort of relief to the community. Most recently, well, let's see. Yeah, most recently, I don't know if you've driven by down Hadley or along Solano near the soccer fields, but you see the cup signs that are on the fences. So we did an I Spy campaign on social media to bring awareness to those signs. And that was all created by staff to encourage our community and give them, try to make them feel better about the situation. So it's an ongoing effort. It just never ends. Thank you.
Thank you, Ceci. I appreciate that. Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. I also want to add, I didn't make that clear, is all the exempt staff stayed on at 40 hours, even when the rest of the team was taken down, basically. So we've had the exempt staff on for 40 hours and then some since March 20th. So now we're bringing the whole team back, hopefully by mid-September, and hopefully we can make sure and ensure that there's enough space for everyone to operate in. So we're still working those little kinks out, but I think we're just about there. We're here for any questions, any other additional comments, any specific items. I know that pickleball and tennis were up at the forefront earlier, and one of the biggest issues we had there was the public health order says you got to have, less than 5 people in a group. And we weren't having that we were having large groups. On top of that, I had community members who were seeing this and asking me, why is that park, why can't I go to that park? And why are the groups allowed to form as groups when you're not supposed to? And so that was extremely difficult. At one point in time, I did have the state police that were called about Apodaca Park regarding a mass gathering and lots of people in that area, even when it was closed. And that would not be a good thing. I certainly don't want to get a fine for going against any of those orders. However, I do understand their frustrations, and I do understand that people want to be out and about and play. I get it. We do. We're in Parks and Rec. It's our passion. It's our passion to provide these services for the community, and it's been extremely difficult. We will be working with the pickleball community and the tennis community as we roll these out. And actually the reservation is going to help us control some of that as far as having groups gather. We did the same thing with lap swimming. We did the same thing with the fitness area upstairs at the aquatic center, and it has helped us a lot. We know that the individuals coming in are the ones that have a reservation. In the beginning, we did have groups of people that were trying to get to the courts early to make sure they were in line. That was causing an issue. We were hoping we could figure out, they would help each other, help us figure all that out. And it didn't quite work out. And I understand everybody wants to play and everybody's willing to hang out for a little bit. I also received calls from people that didn't get an opportunity to play because they couldn't stay there that long. And so I understand that as well. I have received a phone call saying thank you for the reservation because now they will have an opportunity to play when before they had a difficult time playing. And of course, I've had those phone calls that said, now you're taking away, my time. I like to play 2-3 hours or more. And I understand that, but pickleball and tennis were our pilot programs for some programming. And we're trying to offer something instead of nothing. And I also get the phone calls from all the other groups out there that want to play. And that has been difficult as well. So we're hoping that as we start getting better and our community starts getting more and more healthy, that we'll be able to open up things. So believe me, we'll be the first ones to open up that gate and welcome everyone back. So again, we're here for any questions if you have any, if you need any specific information. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for sharing all of your different departments, the information. I think some of the questions were also answered to a certain extent, but I'd like to give it up to the board for any more specific questions. Stan, Megan, Robert, Eric, anyone? Megan, no? Okay. When I see the picture come on, then I wonder. Okay. Just going over here. Most of that was answered there. Okay, so just out of curiosity, does that kind of overlap with the, oh, Robert?
No, I was just going to see if Megan had any questions. Camera came on, but no.
I don't know if we want to move on to staff member comments. I guess as outside the COVID update quickly. Stan, are you?
Yeah, Madam Chair. So even though some of these questions were answered, I'd like to see what the board feels about Ms. Delgado still answering them more directly, if that's, if we feel that she does still need to do that.
I think that question specifically regarding the plans, the new plan coming on the 24th, and then regarding the 28th from the governor. And we have
I think it would be nice and courteous to respond in the aspect of what exactly health order are they violating, and that's kind of what I was listening to some of the questions. And first and foremost, pickleball has a strong community, and I was kind of thinking in different ways of how to help them gain their own autonomy and let them do what they want to do. I mean, even within COVID and outside COVID aspect of it. And I know how similar to softball, baseball, soccer, how there's kind of a mutual, there's their own organization, which I'm sure they could get a pickleball national organization and not necessarily lease the fields, but also be in charge of what they're doing at the fields. And kind of in this setting, I know kind of similar to golf courses and multiple businesses having to either one, create and two, follow some of kind of New Mexico Department of Health and the COVID safe practices. They have that right in now. The only one I think and I was kind of hoping that there would be the governor would speak today and cut things back, because there was obviously more testing, more positive. Then now there's obviously decreased testing and decreased positives. So I was hoping today would be a nice little cut down on some of the restrictions, but that didn't happen. So maybe next week. But in the aspect of kind of the violations, I think she did answer that in the mass gathering greater than 5. If the pickleball and tennis community could come up with kind of a COVID safe practices that can fall in that category, then it might be beneficial to staff and also the pickleball and tennis community. It's kind of one of my thoughts on kind of all of tonight. Can you hit the light? My computer's going to die.
Quickly to jump in, concerning
the
the amount of play, if reservations could be extended longer, is that something that pickleball would want to do? I mean, that sounds like the 45-minute issue is if we continue the reservations and extend it, work better for people?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. Okay, so when we first sent the plan forward, we had a set amount, we had the days and we had a set amount of time that was agreed upon by our state epidemiologist. So that's the plan we're working with. What I can do, I can't add any more hours to the program itself, but I can change the way the hours are. So for example, if let's say we were open 8 to 12 and no one was playing from 10 to noon every day. Let's say we open every day. So I had 4 hours a day for 5 days, 20, and nobody's playing from 10 to 12. Then I could move those 2 hours for all those days. So another, 10 hours. And I can move them, let's say, make it a little bit earlier. Instead of 8, go to 7, and then maybe put those other few little hours on Saturday morning. As long as I didn't add more than what was already approved, okay? And I just used 20 because it was for easy math, 5 days. That's the only reason I used that as an example. If I want to increase the hours or increase the number of programs or increase facilities to be open, I would have to resend the plan to the state epidemiologist, and I would say based on the changes the governor has made, this is what I would like to do. And then put that forward. We can certainly do that. We will do that once those things start to change. Once those orders start to get relaxed, we will certainly do that. As long as that's what I was told, to align the plan with it. When the state epidemiologist first approved it, they did say we did a very good job of aligning with the current orders, and they liked that we were doing it slow. And to be honest, I really don't know if anybody else was told to do the same things that we did. Maybe not, I have no idea. Like I said, I can't speak for them. So, and when we did the swimming and we started doing the reservations, we sent that to the state epidemiologist to say, okay, can swimming be in there? Because swimming was not allowed in the very beginning. It was slowly starting to come out. We had to put a plan together. There were some things that got changed, had to be a little more strict. We had to have more time. And it really did restrict the number of swimmers per lane. So for example, we're working with the swim teams. I have a certain amount of hours that were approved, but I'm starting to move those hours around so we can accommodate that swim team a little bit better and still stay within those 5 people numbers, that's the difficult part. I can't have a whole team in there. She completely said no teams. Okay. No coaches on deck. Okay. So we are trying to figure out how to work with that. And we have been. I haven't added any more. So to do that, I would need those orders to relax a little bit, and then we would resubmit and add things that fell right into place. So again, we're willing to do that. Once that happens, we will be there. I hope that helps. And if they want,
how long was the turnaround from sending it to the epidemiologist and back?
When we sent our original plan, it was at least a couple of weeks, could have been longer, but at least 2 weeks, at least. And I understand, they're very busy, and I get that. But that's about what it took. And then once we had to look that over, made sure all our protocols were in place. We had signage we had to get, place it out there, put some news releases, talk to some people, let them know what was happening, and then we opened up. And at that time, we did have staff that would go open, but we didn't have enough staff with enough hours to stay there the entire time to enforce the rules. And I think that was one of the other questions. We couldn't really enforce it because they couldn't stay there all the time. But now that we've increased the hours, we're going to be able to have a team member there the entire time to help enforce that. And that's going to be difficult. Some individuals are okay and they understand they need to abide by all the rules. We have some individuals that don't want to. Refuse not, and that's going to be a tough one. That is going to be tough. And then with regards to the hours, so we understand that the 45-minute limit, they want more. We can certainly do that. What we did was we maximized the amount of hours and a number of participants so that they could play. Now, if we go back and move some of those hours around, let's say we give you an hour and a half. That means I need to take 45 minutes from somewhere else from another day, and that's either shorten that day or I'm going to get rid of that day so that we can have that. That also means we'll have less number of players able to play in 1 week. So I did get calls that they would go stand in line They couldn't stay that long. They didn't get on the court right away. They couldn't stay that long. They didn't get to play. Then they would go back and the same thing would happen again. I get calls that they got to play maybe once every couple of weeks. I did get a phone call saying they're happy that they have to call in for reservation because now they know that they will get to play and they know when they'll get to play. So I get it and I understand, but we will work with them. We just ask that they let us try this out and then we'll get some feedback because we do have a lot of different people out there wanting to play both those sports that aren't necessarily part of those organizations. And I had a really good conversation with the tennis president yesterday, and they're willing to go out there and help us with that. And we did talk about some of these issues and how we're going to work through them. And it was very, very positive. And I've talked with Phil and our program team. They do know how to program programs. They have programmed pickleball before. They're the ones who programmed the one at Meerscheid. And they have worked with that group a lot. And I have a lot of confidence in that entire team. And I know that they will do a good job and they will sit down and they will talk with them. And if changes need to be made, we will do so. We will listen and we will work with them.
Any other comments from the board? Robert, I think you're muted.
Yes, I'm muted. Sorry about that. I was going to say in the aspect of the state park and rec organization, is there any set kind of how the state as a whole with the positivity rate and kind of how that's been changing and using that as a different criteria? Is there anything within the state, because there is the state park and rec organization, is there any specific goal number that we're looking for in as similar to the state with the positivity rate or any of the other rates that will give us a go ahead to open up in the park setting? Since we are outside, we are doing lots of different healthy activities. Any answer for that, Ms. Delgado?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. If I'm understanding the question correctly, you're asking me if the New Mexico Recreation and Park Association has a different number than the state to reopen facilities, correct?
Or just a number? Are they aligned together somewhere along the way in the aspect? How is the state New Mexico Park and Rec Association involved in what's going on? And do we have any certain number or goal as a whole on cases or in that nature? What is our gating criteria to move forward?
Madam Chair, members of the board, the gating criteria that we're following across the state is what's coming out of the state, out of the Department of Health, out of the main office up there. The NMRPA or NRPA, which is our National Recreation and Park Association, they are telling us to follow all the guidelines set by your state. What is your state doing? What's the governor? What's your Department of Health doing? And follow those. Now, CDC says the same thing. We look at their guidelines as well. And then, of course, with every organization. For example, just recently, USA Swimming. USA Swimming said the same thing. Here's some guidelines. However, the first and foremost, you have to follow your state and then move down. And so that's what we have been doing. So the state has been our guide.
Instead of with this pickleball stuff particular, is there any, I know there's a certain couple individuals that, is there any particular person that can lead in meeting with you and saying, okay, here's our COVID safe practicing for courts? Because I mean, there's a COVID safe practicing for golf, COVID safe practicing for medical facility, COVID safe practicing for restaurants. Is there any COVID safe practicing for courts that may be meeting with some of the pickleball and or tennis community and saying, here's what we need to do, versus answering each individual question, which I kind of think we have tonight. But I think if maybe just meeting with them in whatever they might have as a official organization or loose fit organization.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. So our team, when we were putting these things together and when we started putting our plan together for reopening and talking to the state epidemiologist, we did look at those safe practices for those different areas and see which ones would work with regards to the plans that the orders that were coming out at that time. The team has done the same thing now. We will certainly sit down with them and we can work with them some more and let them know. But the guidelines that are going to be setting, they're going to sit to the top are going to be the ones that are coming from the state. And we're going to make sure we abide by those first and then make sure that program fits that. And then we'll move forward. I hope that answers your question.
No, it does. Thank you. It's just a tough time for all. And I know we want to be outside playing baseball. People want to be outside playing their particular sport, and want pickleball to be outside playing too. So thank you.
Stan, Eric, anybody else have comments?
No, thank you, staff.
Okay. Alrighty. Yeah. I guess if there are any more questions, to have those get emailed in. Yeah, I concur with Robert's sentiments as well. All right, let's move on to 8 staff member comments.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I'll start calling the staff. Kathy, anything?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Kathy Mathews, landscape architect. We just continue working on projects, keeping things moving. In particular, we've been focused lately on the skate park assessment, finishing that report on our existing skate parks so that we can prepare to dive right into the skate park renovation as soon as that funding becomes available from the state later this fall. I wanted to let you know that we're continuing with electrical improvements at Veterans Memorial Park, coordinating those improvements with the planning and design for the parking lot, so that those two projects can move seamlessly together as soon as that project starts. I wanted to let you know as well that Highland Park we're nearing completion of the design process in Highland Park, and so hopefully within the next 2-3 months, I'll be reporting on the construction bidding process and letting you know when we'll be actually starting construction on that project. Those are just a couple of the highlights. And we're working on many things, of course, but I wanted to hit a few important things just to keep you up to date on a couple things we're doing. Thank you. Oh, I apologize. I do have some items that Franco Granillo wanted me to let you know about with regard to the work that Parks section is doing. So we are working on internal design standards. So myself, Jimmy Zabriskie, our community forester, and Franco as well as other park staff will be creating internal design standards over the next several months to use as a reference and to pass along to community development so that we can start to inform the overall city design standards for landscape and parks as the community development department moves forward with modifying those design standards. We'll be incorporating some of the documents and policies and guidelines that we've already completed, namely tree care policy, median design standards, as well as other standards such as irrigation standards and park amenities standards. With sports field staff continues to assist on maintaining trails, and recently they laid down their first application of pre and post emergent treatments to help keep the weed issues under control. Tree work on Hadley, you may have noticed Hadley Avenue experienced some decline in the health of many of the trees on Hadley Avenue. The issue was identified as an infestation of mites. And so Jimmy Zabriskie, our community forester, is working on applying a miticide to try to save those trees. It may take several applications of the miticide, and likely we won't be able to tell the effectiveness fully until next spring when the trees leaf out again. But just in case you have noticed those declining trees, we are absolutely aware of them, and we're taking steps to address the issue and try to save those mature trees. The right-of-way and median staff is working on the city beautification program called Clean Sweep. They are entering into a 4-week cycle citywide. So they cycle through each of the areas that need to be maintained on a 4-weekly basis. Parks GIS staff is looking at the current schedule to clean up and readjust in order to reduce the driving time. So we're trying to use our technology to realize some efficiencies and use our limited time and resources as best we can to accomplish the maintenance of the medians and rights of way and keep the level of service what our citizens expect. Construction staff is working on several projects, including the installation of a sculpture called Tree of Knowledge at the Calle Abuelo neighborhood park. Parks furnishing replacement program is moving forward. We're replacing furnishings at Benavides Community Center Park, and also working on ADA tables and benches at the Butterfield shooting range. And construction staff is also working on wood chip, engineered wood fiber safety surfacing replacement at playgrounds throughout the city. Also, I want to let you know that Franco will be compiling another list of winter projects for construction staff to work on, so that we can methodically accomplish the bigger kind of repair projects that need to occur, including bollard installation in several parks and more intensive trail cleanup as well, especially around the I-25 University Avenue interchange, which of course is in a bit of disarray due to New Mexico Department of Transportation construction that's going on there. And so our park staff will be working to clean that lower portion along Traverse and remove some of the erosion and the sand buildup that has occurred due to the DOT's construction project. And that's the tip of the iceberg, but it's some of the highlights again for parks as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kathy. Robert.
Our park section is amazing, aren't they? I have no further updates, ma'am.
Thank you. Phil.
Madam Chair, board members, our staff will just continue to do what we're doing with the programming, virtual programming. We'll get this pickleball and tennis under control the best we can and working with those communities. And what our staff is currently working on is what we're going to do in the future as we open up, because we understand that we have a need for the sports and the activities. And we know that groups like baseball and basketball and volleyball and a lot of our other areas are not getting the opportunities that pickleball and tennis are getting right now. But we want to make sure that we do the best that we can for pickleball and tennis. But we also want the community to know that we're looking out for them as well, and we're chopping at the bit to get back to the sports and to open up our fields and to do what we can for the future. So our staff is focusing on what we're going to do when we get back. We're going to get that message out and continue to do what we're doing. And again, I want to thank the rec staff for all the great stuff that they've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Sassy, did you have anything?
Thank you, Sonya. Madam Chair and Board, I will work with Sonya and staff to get some FAQs put together and get them posted on the website as soon as possible so that the community who has these same questions and may not be watching this, this meeting can have that information as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Hazel, any comments?
No comment.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Sonya Delgado, Parks and Recreation Director. I don't have anything else to add for this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everybody. Let's head over to board member comments. I have a couple, but I'd like to see if anyone else does too. It's just me. Hello? Hello? Dan? Megan?
Madam Chairman, I would just like to give a sincere appreciation to the Parks and Rec Board. I know that these are, I don't like to use it, this word unprecedented times, but it seems to be fitting best. So keep up the good work. Kudos to each and every one of you, and please pass that on to all of your employees, and know that we're here with you, and we just appreciate you each and every day and your due diligence to making sure that our community is safe. So I just want to reiterate that to you all and make sure that that gets passed on to your employees also.
Okay. Eric, Robert, anyone else? There's a no there. Just going to assume no's on the other end.
No, quick, short. Just appreciate the pickleball group for stating, and Cassie for you reading all that, and them stating their opinions, you reading it, and Sonya and staff appreciate you for taking these topics and kind of individually focusing with the groups at hand and trying to find the happy medium. And I think that's kind of all that we're doing now. Have to kind of float the medium. There's so much diversity going on. That there's a favorite country song from Aaron Watson that has takes the left wing and the right wing to fly, and I love it. And it's exactly, I love Sonya for taking into each consideration their concerns. So that's my only comment there. So I appreciate you all and talking and finding the middle ground on everything.
All I was going to say is that I really appreciate the enthusiasm for the pickleball community and the tennis community to come out and support their efforts, and that they've kind of been the, I hate to say guinea pigs for this whole reopening. But two, I'd also like to sort of recognize that as a sort of model behavior sort of thing, that I drive by pickleball on Saturday mornings, and the group aspect has been actually kind of shocking for me too, where we all have seating out there now, and it just seems like we're sort of skirting the limits. So I appreciate the flexibility for Parks and Rec staff to kind of see that the play can happen, but I think that there's sort of a responsibility that the group should take as well to police themselves, to basically say, hey, maybe we all don't need to be sitting here. Maybe this is not as communal as it had been in the past because there are changes that needed to happen. So, but I appreciate there's not a lot of people that will fight for, you know, what they want to do. And I appreciate that wholeheartedly. But I think I can't speak for tennis because I never get out there, but I drive by pickleball all the time and there is enthusiasm. Makes me want to play pickleball, but I'm not that coordinated. So thank you all. And I think also staff for, it's hard to kind of do this because I think their heart's in the place where what Phil said too, we want to play, we want to be out, we want to be active, and recognizing how exactly we do that and try to be safe. Numbers are getting better. So here's hoping that it kind of changes and we can kind of get back to like a weird sort of normal, right? I think that's what we're going to go for. But with that said, I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything. If not, there's an adjournment that could be happening, but I can't vote for it. I can't even, I don't think I can call for it, right?
Madam Chair, this is Eric. I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, this is Stan Engel. I second. Eric beat me to the punch.
Okay, all right. Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you all for sticking with me.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.